Alright, today I'm doing an unboxing and a review on the 3dformer. This is a 3D printing, crafting, and doodling pen. This is actually a pre-production version to the best of my knowledge because this company has this pen on a Kickstarter campaign right now, and the Kickstarter is not even over. Today's the 9th of April. And it still has about a week or 2 weeks left to go, but we're going to unbox this and see how it is. They sent me the pen. They also sent me 3 extra rolls of filament, so I've never used this before. We're just going to see what it looks like, and I imagine some of this might be different than their production model just because, like I said, this may be a pre-production version of it. But anyways, it has a basic instruction sheet. It also has some plastic filament similar to what I have on the side, just a lot smaller. This takes the 1.75 millimeter filament, and it's supposed to do both ABS and PLA without needing a temperature adjustment. So these are packaged. I've got the white and black and the red and blue, each with a small desiccant pack in a vacuum packed package. This is the power adapter, so I'm going to plug this in, and it's just a AC to DC power adapter. And then last but not least, of course, is the pen. So my first impression on the pen is it's actually a lot smaller than what it looks like in the Kickstarter campaign and in the video. Not only that, at first I saw the hexagonal shape of it and it seemed like it would be kind of bulky, but as you can see here, the tip is pretty small. It's got a heat port, and then the bottom of it here is kind of curved, so it's supposed to be somewhat ergonomic. And actually the controls are pretty good. So with your finger underneath the first bump here, then you have your index finger on the speed control, which is supposed to be a variable speed control, more than just on-off or not on-off, but rather slow-fast. You're supposed to be able to control the speed continuously here. And then your thumb is going to rest right on the forward button, which will advance the filament, and then the backward button if you want to retract the filament. So I'm going to get this plugged in, and it should need a few minutes to heat up, and so we'll go over the instructions as it's doing that. So plug it in, and I've got an orange LED lit up right now. Just check nothing else in the box there, so I'll put that away. Alright, so now when I press the forward button, the red light does come on, so maybe that's heating up now. Wait for a couple minutes until the status LED turns green. Yeah, I can hear it. It has a little electronic sound now. It sounds like it's heating up. Load the filament. Insert the filament into the feeding input hole, pressing the forward button to load the filament until seeing it come out of the nozzle. To operate, press forward for extrusion. Yep, and I can smell this now. And actually there's some little bit of filament starting to come out, and now the light is green, so there must have been a little bit of filament already in there from the factory. Alright, reactivate the device from standby, just push the forward button. So I don't want to use one of these, well, I guess I'll use one of these bigger rolls, and it looks like blue is already in there, so let me just cut this off. Alright, so I got the zip tie off of there, and now I just need to find the end of the filament. And I don't have any sort of a spool or holder, so it's just going to have to sit here on the table, but this looks like the end. And I'm just going to unravel a little bit of this. in the back here, so we've got the power cord here, and then there's another little hole at the top where you can put the filament in, and it only goes in about an inch or so. Alright, felt it start to catch. Alright, there it's catching, and noise wise there's just a little bit of that kind of electronic high-pitched sound as it cycles the heat, and then when you push the button you do hear the little motor sound. So I feel it is drawing the black filament in here. Alright, now it's pushing out the blue filament. Alright, now I've got black filament coming out. So that seemed to go pretty fast. So I'm going to push this down to the bottom and see how fast that comes out. Alright, so here you can hear it. It's almost like a step motor where it's barely even coming out. And my base here is just some basic white printer paper. So I'm going to adjust the speed a little bit more. Alright. Alright, so after a couple seconds there, you can see that it'll solidify and stay standing up. And then let's just go like this. I'm going to try to connect these without breaking them. Alright, well I just broke that one. I don't really know what I'm making here, other than just trying it out. And let's see here. So if you touch the tip against it, of course the tip is hot, and it's going to help solidify these. Alright, so that's kind of the basics here. I think it works pretty well. I really like that you can adjust the speed. And I'm going to put it on the fast speed, get a little nubbin of material, and then I'm going to come up. Let's see how that does. Alright, so that was a little too tall. No biggie. But what we could do if you wanted to really build a structure is I'm going to start here. Bring another triangle over, make a little base, and then you should note this isn't really even hot after a couple seconds, so that's pretty cool that you can pretty much cool it down. It's kind of like maybe hot candle wax or something like that. And then if you want to make a curve in this or something like that, you can. You've got your hot nozzle there that's going to make it bend again. Like that. And of course we can try the classic test, which is a cube. So I don't want to go full speed, let's go about half speed. Alright, and I'm just going to draw my base. So you are going to have to get a little bit used to the speed here in terms of the filament if you want a nice straight line versus something that is a little bit wavy. Alright. you'll find you get a little bit of smoke. Alright, now the tricky part. I'm going to stretch this a little bit. Alright. I guess I should have started with the ones farther away from me first. Let's try this. While I'm going into midair, let's take it down a notch. And that's a lot easier to go across these horizontal spans in midair. There you go. That's the classic 3D printing pen kind of rite of passage to make a cube. Comes off the paper pretty easily, and let me just hold this up, see if the camera can see that better. But this does print a really nice thin line, so if you're looking for a 3D pen that has a nice thin profile to the extruded shape, this is a pretty cool, or it fits that use case pretty well. And then you could even do stuff like if you were going to draw some sort of a shape, like let's just draw. Oop. So if you wanted to draw a circle, and then if this was going to be part of a another structure, so I've seen a lot of people draw like a bicycle tire or something like that. So let me connect these, kind of like a soldering gun where you just touch the tip. But let's draw another circle in here like this. So I've got two concentric circles, and then if I wanted to draw some spokes, I can lay down a much thicker bead. Or if you were going to try to fill in the object. So this would be good if you're drawing flat on a piece of paper. You can smush the plastic into the paper a little bit, and it's going to give you a much more sturdy piece when you stand it up. And so I think that's some of the expectation that you have to set with yourself with this type of a tool or gadget, is that you don't have a whole lot of control over the filament thickness in midair, so you want to take that into account. So with this one, another thing I should say too, when I set this down, whether it falls over or whether it's standing up, this nozzle never touches the table, so I don't feel too concerned about it burning a hole in my paper here or on my table. And I put a piece of cardboard down underneath here just in case, because I wasn't sure quite what to expect. But here you have kind of a wagon wheel shape, and you can see by adjusting the thickness or just smushing the filament in to the paper a little bit, you can create much thicker, more substantial structures, whereas this outer ring of the material is just a single piece thin and not quite as structurally strong, but it's still flexible. It doesn't break or anything like that. But that would be an example of a wheel. And then if you wanted to do something else with this, say we were just going to take something, reduce the speed, and I'm going to go, let me see here. There we go. Alright, let's try some 3D shapes. So usually what I see happening is once I stop, kind of I don't know that the filament retracts, but it just takes a few seconds for it to get it back in the mix here as far as, let's go a little slower here. This is just demonstrating that you can do some curved shapes in midair. And this is on the slowest speed setting. If you want to go a little faster, you can do that. And I think just like any other 3D printer, you know, depending on the shape you're trying to make, you're going to need some support material or other things. So like here, I'm getting a little bit too heavy. So if I wanted to continue this up, you know, I'm going to need to support. Alright, so now I've got my supports. I could continue this on. Alright, so there you go. There's some 3D shapes. Just just kind of free form in the air if you would want to try something like that. Again, if you need to break the supports off, you can do that. The other thing that I really like about this pen is the fact that I can use this entire roll of filament, and you can see it's just all bunched up here and it's been feeding pretty well, is a big plus, because with some of the other ones that only take a proprietary stick, you know, you'll pay say $10 or so for I think it's like 25 or 30 sticks of filament, and whereas a full kilogram of PLA might cost you 15 or 20 bucks. So instead of getting just a few sticks of filament, you could get tons and tons, more than you know, enough to do a really big project if you wanted to. So again, this is just some drawing on a flat surface. And this is what I was saying before, is you can kind of do something like that. And on this fast speed, it's actually pretty easy to draw big shapes. If I needed to fill in, you could fill in, and it cools off pretty quickly. So just in a couple seconds you can do that. So just from a speed range standpoint, like let's say this is, here we have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. On the fastest speed, just takes a couple seconds to go almost a foot, and then on the slowest speed, once it gets started here, as I said before, you're kind of, and some of the speed just depends on how much you want to stretch the filament too. So it's going to take a little bit of skill to match the speed of the extrusion, but also to maintain enough tension on it There you go. That line's done. Then, as it said, the reverse button, this will back the filament out. Or it should. Oh, there we go. I had to tug on it a little bit, but now it's moving. So that came out pretty well, and then there was just a little tug at the end to get it all the way out. Then I would probably snip that piece off. As far as heat goes, you know, on the actual plastic of the pen here, this orange piece is cool enough to the touch. I mean, you do have the heat outlets, one on the top and then two on the sides. This gray part, yeah, I mean, I'm not burning myself just by touching it for a second, but I wouldn't want to hold on to that, and I'm not going to touch the ceramic nozzle. But overall, you know, I think this is a pretty cool pen. Ergonomically, it was easy to hold. I didn't find any problems holding it. The forward button is in a good spot for the rest of your hand, and then the slider is pretty easy to move. It has a nice amount of tension on it that it's not just going to go all over the place, but yeah, it does take some force to get it to move. The green LED is showing that it's ready to use, and the orange LED that it's powered on. Now that I backed out that filament, I don't know if so nothing else is going to come out. And that's about all there is to it. I mean, you could put a different color in at this point or whatever else, but as far as the different shapes that it makes, I thought it did a great job on the cube. Once you get your speed down and use a little bit of technique. And just like any tool, whether you're doing this for art or trying to do a project, there's going to be a learning curve that you're just going to have to get used to. I mean, you can't pick up a brush and some paint and immediately create a masterpiece on a canvas. So neither are you going to be able to just get one of these pens and immediately expect to draw all sorts of crazy 3D shapes with it. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to. But overall, I think this is a really solid device. Compared to the other ones on the market, what sets this apart? No fan noise. The motor is not that bad. I mean, you really don't notice it. If you really dislike the high pitch electronic sound, it just kind of comes and goes. But I hear it when I listen for it, but when I'm actually doing the project, I don't pay much attention to it. The cord is a decent length. I mean, you're going to have to get an extension cord like I did. So I have an extension cord plugged in, and I think as long as your extension cord is up on the table or close to you, you'll have enough room and usability, because the cord really isn't going to travel around a whole lot. And but that's about it. I'm gonna, at this point, I could either leave it here and let it shut off on its own, but I'm going to go ahead and just unplug it and let it cool down from there. There's a little bit of filament left on the nozzle, so I imagine you might want to have like a little piece of something or other to kind of scrape that off before it solidifies and the nozzle cools. But that's about it. So this is the 3dformer pen. Even at this pre-production stage, I think it is a serious contender in this market. I think it's well made, and it does a great job. I love the variable speed control. That's something that I didn't see on any other pen that's out there. The temperature was right on. It did well with the plastic, and so I imagine there's going to be some variation in the melting point of different plastics. Even if you get PLA and use just that, one manufacturer to the next or a different color might have a different melting point, and that's where this variable speed control is going to be very useful. Even if you don't control the melting speed or the temperature, you can control the extrusion rate, so it kind of serves not the exact same purpose, but something to at least give you the ability to account for that. As far as the wires go, I mean, you only have one power wire and then your filament. You could easily get a spool holder or something like that for these, or just use the smaller lengths like this and not have to worry about it. So I think this is a great product. Thank you, DIM 3D, for sending me this sample. And if you have any questions, just let me know.